The time I want to write this article is Ching Ming Festival. I didn't plan to write this article that day, but I accidentally saw a WeChat business posting that he had the business of Ching Ming Festival instead of memorial service. After learning about it, I found out that in the current epidemic prevention and control, many places have launched the business of paying homage to others. Whether this practice itself is ignorance of customs or wants to collect other people's IQ tax is unknown. It seems to Suiman that the cemetery is full of yin and yin. If you sweep someone's grave, no matter if you are sincere or not, it is not good for you. Even if you ask someone to pay homage elsewhere, according to Taoist knowledge, your ancestors will wait for you at Wangxiangtai around Ching Ming Festival, and you send someone to pay homage elsewhere, not to mention whether it is useful or not, just say that your ancestors did not see their relatives from their hometown, so the act of subverting human feelings can also be laughed at. Many people think that Ching Ming Festival is a holiday in the underworld, a day when the deceased have a holiday. In fact, as far as the legends of the old people are concerned, Ching Ming Festival is equivalent to Monday in the world of the sun, and it is the day when work starts. By the way, the deceased also had to work in the underworld. From Qingming to October 1st of the lunar calendar are working hours. Therefore, Qingming, the time to go out to visit relatives and collect money before work starts, is particularly important. The Book of Songs has a saying, death and life are in harmony with each other, and you can talk about it with Zikan. In traditional culture, although the ancestors and us are separated by yin and yang, we still believe in their spiritual existence. Sacrifice activities are a good link and support, so as to gain mutual life connection and form a world where we can communicate with each other. From culture to metaphysics, sacrifices are very important to us. Sincerity is the key, but the proper etiquette must be done. From the process to the precautions, I will write specific points. Next is pure dry goods. The general order of offering sacrifices is repairing the cemetery, offering incense, and offering tribute, enshrining the Lord of the earth, paying homage, and seeing off. Trimming the cemetery. To sweep the tomb, the first thing is to clean up the cemetery, especially the plants in front of the tomb and on the tomb. If these plants grow into a climate, it will be very bad and have a lot of impact. The so-called feng shui of the yin house is very concerned about these things. Even if metaphysical factors are not considered, the tomb is the resting place of the tribe, and if the weeds are overgrown, what is the awe and remembrance of the dead? No way. Offering incense and paying tribute. Religious sacrifices are very particular, and different sacrifice objects have different sacrifice specifications, such as small 3 animals, raw 3 animals, 4 animals, 5 animals, whole cattle, whole pigs, and sheep, 5 sheep, 6 sheep, mountain delicacies, seafood, 3 fruits, 4 fruits, 5 fruits, 5 seeds, 5 flavor bowls, 7 flavor bowls. Sacrificial offerings all have specifications and cannot be messed up. For example, the whole cow is the special sacrifice specification for Confucius, the 3 animals can only be sacrificed to Lord Tiger, the sacrifice specification of Lioki can only be used by God, and the 5-flavored bowl is for worshipping the foundation owner and lonely ghosts. The Kiwei bowl is to worship Kinyangma. The specifications that should be adopted for sweeping tombs and offering sacrifices to ancestors in Qingming are 3 animals that are fully cooked. Half-cooked 3 animals are for the gods. The 3 fully cooked animals are 1 portion of cooked pork, 1 chicken, or duck or goose, and 1 piece of fish. The pork is placed in the middle, and the chicken and duck are placed on both sides of the pork. I read some news on the internet that in some places the Qingming Festival is particularly grand and extravagant, and the specifications of Beidiangong are nothing more than that. Their nouveau riche mentality is causing trouble, thinking that being grand and luxurious is all about being particular. In fact, if the ancestors were ordinary people, they might not be able to withstand such a grand ceremony. In addition to the fruits for Qingming sacrifices, longan, red dates, hazelnuts, peanuts, melon seeds, and other dried fruits with fertility meanings, generally speaking, they are all acceptable. The number of these tributes and fruits and dried fruits is singular in some places, and 3 gods and 4 ghosts in some places, which vary according to local customs. Those things of Tiandi Bank are no different from waste paper in the eyes of Taoism. It is better to prepare more paper gold ingots, gold bars, and cold clothes. If you think it is really troublesome, the simplified method is to prepare several sets of bowls and chopsticks, wine, tobacco, tea, fruit, a pair of candles, 3 kinds of meat and vegetables each, gold ingots, and cold clothes? The only ones I really don't want to pay attention to are gold ingots and cold clothes. If you don't want to pay attention to it, then each depends on his ancestors' wishes. Worship the Lord of the land. Before paying homage to the ancestors, you must first offer sacrifices to the mountain gods and land at the ancestors' tombs. Remember to remember. The mountain god land is the patron saint of the cemetery, and he can be regarded as the parent official of his ancestors. As the couplet of the Earth Temple says, "Don't laugh at me for being old and incompetent, make a wish and try. Even if you are rich and good at business, don't burn incense and see." Worshipping the god of the land is just a matter of finding a separate space in front of the grave, dividing some of the offerings, placing what should be placed on the table, burning what should be burned, and sincerely thanking the land god for his grace and shelter to the ancestors. Farewell. After sacrificing the ancestors, don't rush home, find a separate place beside the ancestors' grave, and burn some sacrifices for those passing by, or offer some water and rice. Some of the dead have lost their incense, and there is no one in the future, and no one to send warmth to them. You act with kindness in your heart, and you will be rewarded with kindness. Don't go home directly after paying homage to the ancestors. After the sacrifice, bask in the sun, clean the soles of your shoes, and don't take away dirty things. It's best to go to crowded and lively places, such as shopping malls and the like, or you can go to a restaurant with the whole family to have a meal. Let's talk about the excitement. The rule in the old age is to go to the temple of the city god after sweeping the tomb during the Ching Ming Festival, pay homage to the emperor of the city, and then go directly to the temple fair in front of the temple. In short, go to the crowded place and then go home. As for what? Yours. You taste it carefully. After talking about the process, let's talk about the specific precautions for sweeping the tomb. 1. Those who have passed away within 3 years must go on the exact day of Ching Ming Festival, and those who are 3 years later can go earlier. The ingots sacrificed before or on the day of Ching Ming are worth 100. And if you say you want to go, you must go, or don't say it. The folk tradition is that if you say it, your relatives will wait for you at Wangxiangtai. 2. Early Ching Ming, late 11, the Ching Ming ancestor worship should be before 12 o'clock. Avoid offering sacrifices to ancestors after 1500 hours on the same day. After 3 p.m., the yang qi weakens and the yin qi becomes heavier, which is not good for people with weak constitutions. 3. Avoid intercourse on the day of Ching Ming. 4. Tomb sweeping day is the most taboo to celebrate birthdays. The old people pay attention to, people born on the 2 days of tomb sweeping day and the winter solstice are not allowed to celebrate their birthdays for life. Not to mention the rules of the old age, just saying that birthdays on Ching Ming Festival are a bit awkward. 5. It is a taboo for outsiders to participate in other people's sacrifices. For example, if the relationship between male and female friends is not yet married, it is very taboo to accompany other people's family members to worship other people's ancestors during the Ching Ming Festival. After all, they are not a family. Why do outsiders worship their own ancestors? Each ancestor has their own blessings and family luck. What does it mean for outsiders to intervene? It is easy to cause unnecessary trouble. Don't do such ignorant things. 6. Tomb sweeping day can only be said to be well-being, and the solemn day of offering sacrifices to ancestors cannot be said to be Happy Ching Ming. 7. It is best not to go to the tomb for children under the age of 6. Children, regardless of their age, must be restrained. Some bear children jump and step on other people's or their own graves, and some urinate in the graveyard. This is the taboo among the taboos. Don't play around in the cemetery, and don't eat during the sacrifice, especially children. The purpose of sweeping the tomb is to worship the ancestors, not for fun. There is a God in the head and 3 feet, and the heart is sincere. Children have a weak aura, and if they are afraid of being contaminated with some dirty things, they can tie red thread on their wrists when they go. Of course, it is better to have a magic object for protection. 8. Do not take photos or take pictures in the cemetery. Don't make. 9. It is forbidden to wear bright red and purple clothes when paying homage to ancestors on Ching Ming Festival. It is best to put an end to these 2 colors, except in the year of birth. Of course, red underwear can be worn. As for why you can't wear bright red and purple clothes, you can find the picture of the paper figurine made by the deceased in the old age, and see what color it is, and you will know. 10. Avoid eating meat and drinking alcohol before offering sacrifices to ancestors. According to traditional customs, one should fast before offering sacrifices to ancestors. Although there is no such a lot of emphasis on ancestor worship nowadays, it is easy to offend the ancestors by eating and drinking before the sacrifice. 11. Women who are pregnant, menstruating, or have a miscarriage before the sacrifice, confinement. It is not suitable to worship ancestors. On the one hand, these women are weak and need to take care of their bodies, so they should be still and not move. Secondly, the cemetery is relatively unlucky. These women are relatively weak, and they are afraid of getting some unnecessary troubles. 12. Avoid talking about the names of ancestors, avoid traveling far during the Ching Ming Festival, avoid visiting friends, avoid moving, and avoid getting married. 13. Hair should not cover the forehead, especially before going to sacrifices on Ching Ming Festival. Folk traditions believe that the forehead is where the magic lamp of the human body is located, covering the weak yang energy. 14. Do not buy shoes during Ching Ming Festival. Talking in old age is called buying evil. 15. Avoid disturbing the ancestors' neighbors. When worshipping ancestors, the waste produced by pulling weeds and burning paper should not be randomly thrown in front of other people's tombs. If there is any inadvertent behavior, you can say offend and don't blame in order to ask for forgiveness. Distant relatives are not as good as close neighbors, so don't trouble your ancestors. 16. If you feel that your physical and mental state is inexplicably bad on the day of tomb sweeping, try to avoid tomb sweeping. If you must go, you can bring some magic objects for body protection, which is safer. 17. It is best not to offer sacrifices to relatives at home. If you really can't go to the ancestors' grave to worship, you can put the paper money into the paper bag, write the name and hometown of the deceased on the cover, draw a circle on the ground, write the name of the deceased, and repeat the name in your mouth. If there is sincerity, it must be induced. It is easiest to dream about deceased relatives and friends around Ching Ming. If you dream, folks say that you need to go to worship them. Even if you can't go, it's better to sacrifice at a distance, don't ignore it. Anti-fraud guide. 1. It is nonsense to find any master to help pay homage to Ching Ming Festival. The master is an outsider, how can he help you pay homage to your relatives from afar? This violated the 2 taboos of the Ching Ming Festival custom. One is outsiders offering sacrifices, and the other is remote sacrifices. 2. It is indeed possible to find a master to do Buddhist rituals or Taoist rituals. This method is advisable, but please note that this kind of death is done at night, and this kind of yin thing is very mindful of shooting. Anyone who said something to show you a video, or who did it in broad daylight is a liar. If you have relevant needs, you can go to the official website of the Taoist Association to check whether there are any Taoist temples registered with the Taoist Association nearby. This is much more reliable than many people looking for some wild masters on a certain treasure to pay IQ tax. I hope you can avoid the above problems as much as possible, so I will write them here. There are a few words to share with you. 1 time of filial piety is better than thousands of visits to the grave after death. Burning thousands of piles of paper money in Ching Ming is worse than serving a bowl of rice in the world. Remember, filial piety comes first. As the saying goes, don't forget your ancestors, accumulate good deeds and become virtuous. Good luck.